Hey everyone, it's Martin again and Rexi here from the Dinosaur Experience in Watson, Louisiana. Got a special announcement today. We've got a book for you. It's called Dinosaur Bob and His Adventures with the Lizardos by William Joyce. There it is, that's the book. Now this one's actually worth half an AR point. So if you need some AR points at school, when you get back to school after listening to this, you can take the test. All right, that's coming up real soon, but I've just got to say a couple of things. Hello to Owen out there. Rexi, we're going to be going to Owen's birthday party. Yeah, it's exciting. Rexi loves a birthday party, as does Nash. And also Melissa. Melissa, hello Melissa. We're coming to your birthday party very soon. And the other, Hunter. Hunter, hello Hunter. Can't wait to come to your birthday. And Rexi's getting really excited, and Nash as well. All right, we'll see you very soon. And that book, Dinosaur Bob's, coming up right now. The Lizardos were an interesting family. Every year, before the start of baseball season, they'd take a trip far from their beloved home in Paloco Hills. Travel is adventure. Adventure makes you homesick. And baseball makes everything A-OK, explained Dr. Lizardo. The Lizardos always return from their journey with some amazing treasure. I wonder what they'll drag back this time, groused jealous Mrs. de Glumley, the mayor's wife. The Lizardos zipped about from one spot on the globe to another. London, Rome, Zanzibar, Cleveland. While they were on safari in Africa, young Scotty Lizardo wandered away from camp and returned with a dinosaur. "Look what I caught," he said. "Can we keep him?" pleaded Scotty's sisters, Zelda and Velma. "I don't see why not," said Dr. Lizardo. "He looks kind of like my uncle Bob," said Mrs. Lizardo. Jumbo, their bodyguard, said nothing. Scotty patted the dinosaur on the nose. "Bob," he tried. The dinosaur smiled and wagged his giant tail. So they named him Bob. With Bob along, safari life was fun. They settled into a routine, swimming in the morning, games of baseball in the afternoon, and songs by the campfire before bed. One night, after a rousing rendition of the Hokey Pokey, Mr. Lizardo remarked, "Dancing and dinosaurs. Who could ask for anything more?" One day, while deep in the jungle, they came to the banks of the River Nile. Dr. Lizardo said, "Let's go sailing." So they made Bob into a ship and steered him down the river. "Going by Bob is the only way to travel," sighed Zelda. Everyone began to sing, "Take me out to the ball game." Bob hummed along. Jumbo said nothing, but tapped his foot. It was grand. Bob and the Lizardos were becoming quite attached to one another, but they couldn't sail him all the way back to Pimlico Hills. "Bob took us down the Nile in style," reasoned the doctor. "It would be bad manners if we didn't return the favour." So Dr. Lizardo booked passage on a luxury liner. Passengers danced the Congo up and down Bob's back while he played his trumpet, a gift from the ship's orchestra. Every evening, the children led Bob up to his berth in the ship's smokestacks and bought him a bedtime snack, 2 peanut butter and bologna sandwiches and 400 double Dutch chocolate cakes. After a serenade of Zelda's special song, the Ballad of Dinosaur Bob, Bob always fell asleep with a smile on his face. Their arrival in New York was quite eventful. Tugboats blew their whistles, freighters blasted their horns, and people waved from bridges. "New York loves a show," said Mrs. Lizardo. "And Bob's the biggest show in town," said Dr. Lizardo, as they gathered up their baggage. They toured New York, and after a light lunch of 7,500 hot dogs in Central Park, they caught a train to Pimlico Hills. It was Bob's first train ride. When they arrived in Pimlico Hills, the traffic stopped. Dogs barked. People squealed with delight. Mrs. de Glumley, the mayor's wife, turned pea green with envy. "That thing's a menace to the community," she grumbled. "I think he's kind of nice," said the mayor meekly. The Lizardos began to sing, "Pimlico Hills, my hometown." Bob played his trumpet, and the whole town sang along. Reporters flocked into the Lizardos' house. "Bob will scare off burglars," Dr. Lizardo told them. "And he can blow a mean trumpet," said Zelda. "He hokey pokeys like a fool," said Zelma. "And he can play baseball," shouted Scotty. Jumba said nothing. The photographer's cameras flashed. "Lengthy lizard lands with Lizardos," read the headline in the paper. Bob was famous. Life in Pimlico Hills was restful. There were meals on the lawn, games of go fish, and a snack and a serenade before bed each night. "Home sweet home, eh, Bob?" asked Scotty. Bob smiled and wagged his tail. One day, Bob and the Lizardos played some baseball in the backyard. Bob could play right field and left field at the same time. The Pimlico Pirates watched Bob play. The Pirates had never won a game. They were the worst team in history. But everyone in town loved them and went to all their games. "I wish the big guy in green could play for us," said one of the pirates. The following morning, Bob saw some neighborhood dogs chasing cars. He decided to join them. "Aren't you the Lizardo's dinosaur?" asked a policeman. He was arrested for disturbing the peace. Bob enjoyed being fingerprinted. He didn't understand that he was in trouble. The Lizardos rushed to get Bob out of prison, but the mayor wouldn't let him go. "I'm sorry," he explained. We can't have dinosaurs running wild in the street. We'll be sending him back to Africa in the morning." Bob let out a sad howl. So did the Lizardos. Everyone, even the policeman, began to cry. That night, no one at the Lizardo house could sleep. "Poor Bob," sighed Scotty. "All alone," said Velma. "Without his trumpet," said Zelda. Suddenly, Dr. Lizardo jumped up, grabbed his hat, and ran out of the door. "Don't worry," said Mrs. Lizardo. "Your father never goes out in his pajamas unless he has a smashing idea." Soon the doctor returned with Bob. "Come on," he whispered. "Be very quiet. We're running away." Bob's escape made headlines the following morning. "Lizardos and Lizard on the run." Cops confused. So they hit the open road. "If Pimlico Hills won't have Bob, then we won't have Pimlico Hills," said the doctor. "It's Bob or bust," said Mrs. Lizardo. "Home is where the Bob is," said Scotty, and they all agreed. But something just didn't feel right. Zelda wrote a new song. "I'm so lonesome. I hope I'm home sometime soon." That night, as they camped out under the stars, no one felt like singing. Scotty read the newspaper. "Baseball season starts tomorrow," he said sadly. "Well," said Dr. Lizardo, grabbing the family globe, "time to decide where we're headed." "Let Bob decide," said Mrs. Lizardo. Bob thought for a moment, and then he touched his nose to a point on the globe. "Pimlico Hills," said Dr. Lizardo. He touched Pimlico Hills. "Home," said the children, wishfully. The next day was the opening game for the Pimlico Pirates. As the stadium filled, no one noticed a large lump in the outfield. Everyone in town was there, including the mayor and his wife, Mrs. de Glumley. The team began to run out onto the field. Then the announcer shouted, "And now the newest Pimlico pirate, Dinosaur Bob." The bump began to move, and there stood Bob. The crowd roared, and so did the mayor. Mrs. de Glumley said nothing. Bob smiled his big dinosaur grin, and the game began. The Lizardos cheered Bob from the dugout and gave him water between the innings. The game was close. The Pirates were playing better than they ever had. They needed just one run to win the game when Dinosaur Bob stepped up to bat. He swung with all his might. Crack! The ball went up and up and up, clear out of sight of the stadium. Out of the stadium. Bob rounded the bases in 3 great strides and touched his nose home to the plate. For the first time in history, the Pimlico Pirates had won. The Lizardos rushed onto the field and hugged Bob. The crowd cheered. The crowd cheered Bob all the way out of the stadium. The mayor cheered the loudest. Bob was a hero. "I still say he's a menace to the community," sniffed Mrs. de Glumley. He promises he'll never chase cars again," said Scotty. The mayor looked at his wife. She frowned. Then he looked at Bob. Suddenly, Bob kissed Mrs. de Glumley on the cheek. She was so startled, she stopped frowning. "He can stay," said the mayor. "Hooray!" yelled the Lizardos, and they launched into the hokey pokey, and the whole town joined in. That evening, Bob and the Lizardos had a cookout in the backyard. After dinner, Jumbo brought out the musical instruments. Scotty on the bongos, Bob on the trumpet, and everyone else on kazoos. "Here's to Bob," said Dr. and Mrs. Lizardo. "The best ball player," said Velma. "The best pal," said Zelda. "And the best dinosaur a family ever had," shouted Scotty. Jumbo smiled. Zelda began to play the ballad of Dinosaur Bob, and they all sang and danced late into the summer night. That's it. Did you like that book, Rexi? Yeah? It's Dinosaur Bob. Now, did you know that the author, William Joyce, he actually lives in Louisiana, just down the road from us? Isn't that cool? All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the story. If you hang around, there'll be another one in a few more days. And until then, we'll say goodbye. Bye.